This morning, we'll be hearing from Erastus Asari-Donko, environmental journalist and producer of the Poisoned for Gold documentary. Maxwell Kudeko is our Eastern Regional Correspondent for Joy News. Professor Kwame Gyan is the land law expert, and Kwame Sapon-Asiedu is the D&D fellow at CDD Ghana. Gentlemen, good morning to you all.
Good morning, Kodu.
Great to have you. Listen, I'm going to start with you, Maxwell. I want a bit of an update on the latest situation. So the vice president came to Achim Winchi and was told that they can't stop Galamsey. First of all, what was his response?
Well, the vice president mentioned that, yes, indeed, natural resources that we have are meant to be exploited for our good. But there's a need to exploit these resources in a more sustainable way. He mentioned that, yes, indeed, mining must go on, but we need to mine responsibly. He attributed the menace of illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey, to the rigid licensing regime. He believes that because of the struggle a lot of people go through in securing permits and leases, the money lease and permit, that is one of the contributing factors that have contributed to the menace of illegal mining. So he proposed that under his regime, is going to make the licensing processes more flexible, and then set up institutions to facilitate community mining schemes where the community will be given a concession to mine responsibly. He said that there's a need to do a proper survey and a research to identify properly where the huge deposits of gold are in this country. So he mentioned that millions of Ghana cedis will be invested in the Geological Survey Department to do more geo work and then ascertain the areas where these resources are deposited, so they can invest there. So in a nutshell, the vice president mentioned that, yes, the community mining scheme is one of the key strategy to prevent this illegal mining, in the sense that when it is done properly, the regulators will be in a position to monitor and regulate the activities of the people mining in the community.
Now, tell us, how widespread is illegal mining in Achim Winchi?
Wenchi and the Akwatia enclave is noted for mining. You know, the GCD is in Akwatia, and most of the areas that this mining activity, the illegal mining activities are going on, basically forms part of the GCD concession. In recent times, there are private mining companies, large-scale and small-scale mining companies that have leased within the GCD concession. And then the people believe that this illegal mining is being done by the local people in cahoot with the people with the small-scale mining licensing and all that. If you look at the areas like Kusi, Takrasi, Swabe, and the Wenchi enclave, I mean, just by a drive on the roadside or by a walk on the roadside, you'll see a lot of young people digging and washing gold. Interestingly, most of these activities take place very closer to the banks of the Brim River. And recently, if you drive through any part of the Brim River, you will see that the devastation that we witnessed years ago has revisited us. So the menace is there. They mostly use these transfer machines, and these people are the local folks. You know, they used to call it kuli people who just wake up in their house, pick a headpan, and then they just walk into the bush, dig a wash for gold. It's believed that the small-scale miners, I mean, most of the licensed small-scale miners are also benefiting from the scheme, in the sense that they go and buy the gold from them at a very cheaper rate and then resell. So, presently, if you walk through the town, if you walk through that enclave, I mean, it's very evident that you see a lot of young guys on the road. And then even the Wenchi town, if you enter the Wenchi town, most of the roads, you see that the gravels on the roads are from the mining side. So it's evidence. Everybody who knows the enclave knows that this town is a mining town. and then the menace of Galamsey is very clear there.
Now, the chief says that they can't stop because there's no other job for them. What did the youth in these areas used to do before Galamsey became widespread?
But the history tells us that the entire enclave used to be a farming area, but decades ago, since the GCD came into being, and then proud to now the mainstay or the main bone of the economy is mining, and then it is something, or these are words that has been on the lips of a lot of people in the area. I mean, they will tell you that the government has not provided any job for them. That is the only source of livelihood, and they cannot stop it. You see that they die or they do it. So it's a very dire situation we are talking about in the Wachi enclave.
So this is Achimwinchi in the Kwabibrim Municipal District, am I right?
Precisely.
Yes. It says here they have a total of about 121,698 citizens as at the 2021 census.
Yeah,
And
majority
of them are
they
youth.
actually share boundaries with Akwatia, and you know the history of Akwatia. Akwatia is also a mine town, so the entire enclave. You know the Kwabibrim enclave is noted for its rich natural resources, especially gold and diamond and all that. But now gold is the talk of the time of the town. So when she falls part of the rich golden enclave within the Kwabibrim area.
A great number of voters there as well. Maxwell, thank you for that update. Of course, Achimwinchi is just one place where mining happens. It is widespread across the country. It is getting worse. It is being done now in plain sight, and the effects of it, nobody seems to care. Erastus Asaridonko has been keeping a weather eye on the situation with Galamsey across the country, and he's with us this morning. Erastus, is it getting better?
Kojo, you know the answer to that one.
Well,
it's not getting better, and it's not something that I am saying. You can see it from all angles across the country. When you are traveling, you see it by the roadside. If you are somebody who uses the Kumasi Accra road, when you get to Osino, somebody gets inches close to the main road. I don't know whether he wants to get to the main road and perhaps dig beneath it. He's almost there, and he's mining actively. I don't think the Minerals Commission has given license for that illegal activity. When you get to Konongo on the main Kumasi Accra road, you see it glaringly. Excavators digging left, right, center. When you go to Wasada Dieso, that town is now a Galamsey town. The tailings, the sludge from the mining, which is very poisonous because it contains a lot of heavy metals, is flowing along the main road. The main Ayamfre, Diasu road, is flowing along the main road. You can see it. Wow. Excavators digging beneath homes and all that. Get to Udumase, Konongo Udumase, people are still digging beneath houses. It has so far killed 2 people because houses have collapsed and killed 2 people. They are still digging beneath houses at Udumase. It's across the country, everywhere. Recently, some diplomats asked me to take them to a community affected by illegal mining. I took them to Ewusiejo in the central region, and the Butte River is what they depended on for farming activities, for domestic chores and all that. Now that water is highly poisoned. Do you know what they are doing? Now they are buying aluminium sulfate, the women, and they demonstrated it to the diplomats. They buy it for 1 cedi, and then they fetch the polluted water. They mix the aluminium sulfate with it, and when it settles the particles, then they pour it and use it to bath. And when I looked at the children, they have all these skin rashes all over their body. And the women are saying that when they bath with it, they scratch themselves. And if you Google the effects of aluminum sulfate on the skin, you can see that this is a reaction coming from it. And mind you, when it settles the particles, it doesn't mean that the water is safe for use. Many of the indigenes do not know. When we got to Atrebuanda, close to the Pra River, same issue. They buy aluminum sulfate. It's sold like you're buying tomatoes from a shop. And that's what the women use to settle the water, and they use it for domestic chores. Look at the implications, the health implications, and many of them do not even know. And across the country, every major river or stream, just mention the name and I'll tell you, because we've tested samples from them, and they are all polluted. A country with all its freshwater sources, highly polluted. And that's what we have across the country. I can't even talk about the forest reserves. Now, it's worse than ever. They are penetrating into many of the reserves. Some of them have been legally given out. And even before the legal occupants could start mining, there are people who have gone in and have started mining. A clear case is the Draw River Forest Reserve. Now there is somebody, I know it has been given to Better Land Services. The case is even in court. There is an injunction placed on mining there. But somebody doesn't even care about the injunction. He's there, mining as we speak, in the forest reserve. So it tells you of the impunity with which people are doing it now. And when you ask them, they say it's an election year, so there is no fight. So they've been given leeway to go all out and make money.
Let's talk about that. Currently, as you go around the country, pursuing Galamsey stories, have you seen any state organization or organ or institution or task force or official fighting Galamsey?
No, there is no fight at the moment. If any government official says there is a fight, that government official should show me where they are fighting. There is no fight anywhere. There is no restriction. Nothing. It's open for mining. It's as if it's not even a nature crime, which is evident in our statutes. It's as if there are no environmental laws in this country. When you go to Dunkwao, there are champagne machines sitting close on the offing, close to a police barrier. And it's business as usual. The police are conducting their road checks, and they are also polluting the river nearby. It's like armed robbery is going on, broad daylight, and there are policemen also doing their job, minding their business. That is what is happening across the country. I challenge any government official to tell me where they are fighting Galamsey now across the country.
Prof. Kwame Gyan, I know you can't stay with us very long, so I'm going to take your take on this really quickly so that you can head off to your other responsibilities. Honestly, Prof, if this is not failure on the part of the state to protect the natural resources of this country, then what is?
Good morning to you. Please, the line is very faint. If you can do something about it.
Okay, we can hear you clearly. Should I repeat the question?
Okay. So then please let me take your question again.
Right. I'm just saying, looking at the current state of things, where there is literally no body fighting Galamsey, I'm asking, if this is not failure of the state to protect its natural resources, then what is?
You know how I would characterize it? You are characterizing it as a failure of the state, not so. It makes it a bit narrow. And the moment you say that, it takes it only to the political actors. I would say that this is not just any failure. It's a gigantic collective failure of all of us as a country and the people. and a nation. This is our collective failure. And let me tell you how we ended up where we are, at least one or two things. Even though I have other things, this is so important, I will make time for this conversation. We got certain things wrong as a country. And the decision to reverse what went wrong has taken a very long time in coming. So, number one, where we went wrong. The whole legal regulatory framework for the mining sector has fundamental flaws which require surgical action and real commitment to address. First one, the question of the ownership of resources in this country. Your second one is the whole licensing regime, the whole regime of licensing. How do you apply for and obtain the right to mine a mineral in this country? Then the other challenge with the regulatory legal regime is the question of benefit sharing. How do we share the dividend from the exploitation of our mineral resource? So, Kwame Odami sent me a write-up on Joy FM, on Joy Online, about the comments that were said to have been made by a traditional ruler. And the traditional ruler raised the question of how participatory is the process of getting a license to mine the resource. Who and who are involved? At what stage will the community and their traditional authorities get involved, if at all? So this whole regime whereby someone in Accra signs off on a mining lease, he goes to the community, the person has a lease already granted, signed off in Accra to go to the mining site to take gold. If, for example, the licensing process starts from where the mineral is located, the applicant goes to the ground, the entire community and the applicant and the stakeholders over there, they all agree on what lands are mineable and what lands are not mineable per their local conditions. Somebody takes a site plan from Minerals Commission and carves out an area and puts in an application for that whole area, whether it covers a school building or school compound, a cemetery, a whole township. It's a mining concession. So, and then the question of sharing of the benefits. The Article 257, Clause 6 of the Constitution says all minerals in their natural state are the property of the Republic, and they are vested in the President in trust for the whole of us, all of us. It means the mineral ownership is taken out from the land ownership, and the grant of concession is centralized for some people in Accra. The benefit, which is in terms of royalties by law, a royalty is a periodic payment which is made to the owner of the resource. So, entitlement to royalty is also a matter for the state. So, if you visit our typical mining areas, I think it was Erasmus also. Someone earlier was talking about Obuas, Akwetia. Akwetia used to be the diamond hub. They had a company called Consolidated African Selection Trust, which was in the acronym called CAS. Which later became Consolidated Diamond, and which later became something else, and which is now nothing. So the question of How do you share the benefits? Go to Obuasi, go to Takwa. My first trip to Takwa, I passed by Takwa and went all over about 1 hour of traveling. So I said, no, maybe where is Takwa? Because I was told Takwa was just about ahead of me. I asked some palm wine tapper I saw by the wayside. He said, oh, Takwa, you passed by Takwa about an hour ago. I said, so where was Takwa? He said, where you saw the railway line crossing. That's Takwa. I said, wow, Takwa. That was Takwa. After all the gold, that was Takwa. After all the gold, that was Obuasi. So if the people who live close to the resource don't see the benefit of the resource in their lives, they will collude and connive with anybody who is coming to steal the resource. After all, they are not the owners of the resource. The owner of the resource is the state. And for all the number of years you have been on this planet, have any of you seen the state before? Have you seen Ghana before? You know how he looks like, or whether he's a male or female.
Wow. Let me bring in.
So that's my point number one. My point number two, which has brought us to where we are, is the general atmosphere of indiscipline and impunity. There are some scholars who argue that this thing about impunity and indiscipline was one of the legacies of the many revolutions that we have been through. Then we not go sit down and all those things brought us to a point where gradually we decided not to respect authority and not to respect law and order. So with this collective defiance of law and order, all of us have become a bunch of indisciplined, lawless people, to the extent that on the main Accra-Kumasi road, in the glare eyes of everyone, because that road, presidents and prime ministers and speakers and military and police, everybody uses that road. Just inside Osino town, I won't say outskirts, inside Osino town, about 20 meters from the main Accra-Kumasi road, go and see, mining is happening there. We have no regard for law to the extent that in the past, who would have dared to mine a mineral 10 meters from the Accra-Kumasi road? All of us, we see it, we walk away because everybody is helpless. Go to the policeman that the reporter was saying was standing at the place, minding their own business, checking their traffic. He is also helpless. The soldier is helpless. The politicians are also saying they are helpless. The media people are helpless. We in academia, we are also helpless. That is why I'm saying this is our collective failure. It's all of us who have failed.
Yeah.
We saw this thing coming. We should have taken steps earlier. But, there's some sense that political actors are also involved. And I'll tell you something. I'll give you an example using the University of Ghana. The University of Ghana is one state institution that has a lot of land, but has done extremely well in protecting its land. I tell you, one of the main reasons for that, university officers are not complicitous in stealing university land. So they guard jealously the university land. If you have game wardsmen, game wardens who have become poachers, you cannot protect the wild animals in the reserve. We should all ask ourselves, is it actually true that political actors are also involved? Otherwise, why can't they crack the whip where they have to? I am not saying we should stop mining. I still believe that mining has some good things, but it has brought some consequences that are gradually running all of us in. So the question is, how do you do it to minimize the environmental damage associated with it, but still create an opportunity for people to earn a living? And in any event, if you go to my village, Achomokufufu, in the Atiwa West region, or Atiwa West district of the Eastern region, my brothers, I'm telling you, there are more foreigners involved in illegal mining than the locals. So we probably have to flush out the foreigners first and find a way to deal with our locals. Because the locals, opinion leaders and traditional authorities can engage them together with state actors and local actors. But I stand by the wayside. I have some farm by the wayside on the Kwame road. You see 12, 10, 30 men with headphones and equipment walking along the road. If you engage them in a conversation, they speak no English and no Ghanaian language. You ask them their nationality, they say, we are Burkinabe. Wow. Can any Ghanaian go to Burkina Faso and carry a shovel and an axe and a pickaxe and walk onto any land and mine gold? I mean, what kind of thing is this? So we should go back, and the things that we can change in our laws, let's change them. The things that we should change in our behavior, let's change them. You know, this thing called democracy, you know what else it has brought us? The era of political parties came to increase the level of impunity. And I'll tell you how it happened. The party structure is such that people who are political party apparatchiks, they think that being a party office holder or a party sympathizer of repute makes you not amenable to the law. And law enforcement officials, when a political person is involved, they don't want to do it. Because, you know this thing that they say, order from above. Order from above is a two-way street. It can be put him in jail or release him. It goes either way. That's why I am saying this failure, I will not say it is some political class that has failed. All of us, we have failed. And because all of us have failed, if we all want to fix this system, we can fix it. It's not going to be today or tomorrow. But we should find a way to fix it, including what to do with the mined out areas, those areas that have been mined out. Because, look, if you don't deal with that one, you still have something on your hands. And this thing about there are no jobs, and so, for me, I don't think that's the real reason why we have not been able to crack the whip. It's not because there are no jobs. The mining thing, Raymond, I'll tell you, one day I was in my village, and we had tried to stop mining over there, illegal mining. One day, early morning, I got some unsuspecting crowd of women in my house. All the women who sell food gathered in my house early morning. You know what they came to tell me? They said, lawyer, we have been told that you are trying to stop the Galamsey. These are the people who buy our food. Our local people, when they buy the food, they don't buy meat. It's the Galamsey people who can buy good meat and good food. Wow. If you stop them, all of us will be out of business. I'm telling you this to let you know that the Galamsey thing is an economy in its own right. So if you are dealing with it, you have to be cautious. But it has to be dealt with caution and proper strategy. With people who are at the forefront, who are not themselves participants in the process. Because if you are a DC and you have a mining site, the people, they know that the DC too has a mining site. They know.
Kwame Gyan, Professor Kwame Gyan, I thank you very much for your time. I know you have another engagement, so we appreciate you taking the time to break it down for us this morning. Before we take a message, I want to hear from Kwame Sapon Asidu. Kwame, I wonder. I mean, look, we've seen examples of the will of the people, causing change. We've seen how organized labor stood up and suddenly the hotels were no longer for sale. We've seen how people have hit the streets and demonstrated, and governments have turned around and done what the people want. Galamsey seems to be the only thing that everyone agrees is bad, but nobody can fix. Why?
Well, thanks, Kojo, and good morning to everyone. Yes, once you have a problem where everyone accepts it's bad, but no one can fix, it means everyone is involved in the problem. And that's what Lawyer Kwame Gyan basically has said. That's what Erastus has said, and that's what your correspondent in the Eastern region has said. Everyone is involved in the problem, because if you talk about the political players, they require the political will. Assuming they have the political will, they need people to enforce the law. When you go to the enforcement, it comes from the police, we've used the army, we use the national security, and then you have the courts. They have to play ball as well. If people in those security and judicial architecture are involved in the problem, they wouldn't play ball. Then the next level becomes, once there's no enforcement, impunity begins to rear its head. And how does impunity rear its head? It rears its head because the main people who have the money, who can buy the champagnes and buy the excavators and all the equipment, would not go onto to mine. They would have to employ people. If enforcement works, these people are concerned that they may be arrested and locked up for a very long time or fined for a very long time. But if it's not, enforcement is not working, and the same political players have not created an ecosystem in which these people who are the handlings of the mining can find alternative jobs, be it farming, be it entrepreneurship, be it something in the small scale, then their only alternative would be to turn to these people, knowing that nothing would happen to them, to mine. The unfortunate thing then becomes that as they mine, the first two I talked about, those with the political will, the security agencies, are far removed from the problem. So when the immediate impact of Galamsey starts, it affects these people who are actively doing the mining. And that's why you hear that they are trying to use alum irregularly to try and get the silt out of the water, and they are bearing the brunt of the rashes. But you see, the rashes, for me, is just the start. The skin cancers are going to start showing. The skin cancers are going to start showing. And when those skin cancers start showing in those communities, mind you, cancer is not covered on the NHI, so they don't stand a chance. The people who are employing them do not give them any private insurance, so they don't stand a chance. And these people would have serious health issues. I'm just talking from the skin. I've not talked about the renal issues and the liver issues that are going to follow through. So when I look at it that way, and we cannot solve this problem, then I ask myself, what is the easiest fix? Because when everyone is involved in a problem, you have a vicious circle, and you have to break the circle. How do you break it? That is where leadership comes in. And I always go back to this book, this article that was written in China when Deng Xiaoping came. He says, practice is the sole criterion for testing truth. So when people come and they talk, don't take them serious. Let them act, and let us see the outcomes. So if the president then comes to tell me when we are all involved in the problem and the president says, yes, all of you voted for me, because the minute we vote, the person who wins has been elected by all of us. And says, I am going to put my presidency on the line because this is affecting all of us. And then it turns out that the test of truth shows as failure because the water bodies are all gone, the forests are all gone. Then you ask yourself, what next? Because I tell you what, Kojo, we wouldn't solve the problem from the bottom. And the last thing I'll add, which for me is what makes me sad, is that we've destroyed most of our water bodies. And we've destroyed the fauna, the fishes, the crabs, you name it, that are in these water bodies, which are delicacies, which feed us, they give us protein. Guess what? The irony is, the people, like Kwame was saying, he had some Burkinabes, we've heard people talk about Chinese. The people we claim have come into the country to assist us destroy our water bodies and our forests are the ones who are now big in fish farming to feed us. Why? Because they have realized that we cannot even take opportunity when we've caused a calamity. So they come in, they help us to destroy, and then they exploit the distraction to produce food to feed us. Is this not an irony? Why am I saying this? It tells me that if we didn't do the Galamsey, there are other options. If these people have come in and they are into fish farming and all sorts of things, now people say, oh, the Chinese are into fish farming here, there. That tells me that if our leaders think they can find other options that would provide money for the youth involved in this. And for me, that is what's important.
Kwame, before I bring back Erastus let me ask you this. I mean, look, the president said he would put his presidency on the line. He said he would provide alternative livelihoods. He said he would regularize small-scale mining. He said he would reclaim land. None of that has happened. In fact, what he has done is he has allowed for companies to now take mining concessions in forest reserves. What he has done is that he has excused companies that have been caught mining in forest reserves, claiming that they are not mining as we speak. Now, there are some who look to the alternative, the next in line, former President Mahama, who says that he will come and give amnesty to those who have already been prosecuted for it. I mean, let me ask you your take on that. Will that help?
Well, I think when this statement was made, I went back to watch what President Mahama was saying. And though I would disagree with releasing people, because you realize that when I was speaking earlier, I gave the trend of all of us being involved. And I said one of the things that breeds impunity is a lack of enforcement. So if these people are released without an assurance of enforcement, I disagree. Because it's even going to entrench the impunity more. So what I would want to hear from former President Mahama, apart from trying to arrest the kingpins, which I heard from Nana Akufo-Addo, but hasn't happened, is how is he going to arrest these kingpins? And how is he going to use the security services and the courts to ensure that when they are arrested, they are locked away for a pretty long time? And how is he going to find alternative livelihoods for the people who are imbibed in impunity and are engaging in this mining to the detriment of their environment? I hear the house to these. I don't think just saying I'm going to release those who've been jailed, because already we are struggling with enforcement. The community enforcement we've got to, if we are going to let them act without ensuring that the enforcement will improve, on the simple reason that the kingpins haven't been arrested, I would worry. But that said, if he can prove to me that this is how we're going to act to get the kingpins arrested and locked away for a very long time, this is how we're going to provide alternative livelihoods, and therefore we feel that the previous system has treated these people unfairly because these systems were not in place. And so they took the fall for a problem that we've all contributed. Then yes, I probably would agree with them being released because we would have put the systems in place. But until then, I would struggle with his position.
All right. Well, Erastus, just before we wrap things up, at this point, at this point, what would be? Do you consider that there is anything that can be done by these state players that they haven't done before? I mean, because we've seen them do so many things. They've sent task forces. They've set up interministerial committees. They've done a lot of things that didn't work. What can they try that they haven't tried before? Do we have Erastus on the line? I'm afraid we may have lost Erastus there. Raymond, by the way, and a big thank you to Kwame Sapon Asiedu, D&D fellow at CDD Ghana, as well as Professor Kwame Gyan, who's a land law expert, and Maxwell Kudeko, who spoke to us from the Eastern region, where he's our correspondent. Thanks to Erastus Asaridonko as well, environmental journalist and producer, Poisoned for Gold. Ray.
I'm still on the website of the National Alternative Employment and Livelihood Program for Illegal Miners. It says he has been putting up these modules, National Land Reclamation and Reforestation, that is taking these illegal miners and putting them into this use, agriculture and agro-processing, responsible and viable and sustainable small-scale community mining. That is what it says. It says he has also done community enhancement projects. It's providing mining support services and apprenticeship skills training and entrepreneurship in various forms. And again, they've been touting some successes attained under this system, which includes, and they are telling us that they have actually done some reclamation. They say they have also provided some 80,000 jobs to people who were previously involved in illegal mining. At least that is what they are also telling us. And talking about deploying, when it comes to dealing with illegal mining, they also claim they have deployed a number of community mining projects, which is already happening across the country. And again, they say they have engaged 80,000 under the NAGLP, as I just mentioned. These 80,000 youth have secured jobs in reforestation alone. Then you ask yourself, when it comes to the community mining, which other grouping are actually doing it? If the same 80,000 are the ones who are engaging the reforestation itself. When it comes to the other modules that they are talking about, because as a banner, they say 80,000 youth are being engaged. And it also says on the same platform, 80,000 engaged in reforestation. Louis Carroll Serradonko is the one on this platform to have been in charge of it. But we cannot dismiss the fact that it will take people of conscience to deal with this matter. We have allowed people who believe that the politics is for the next election. And the president kept on pretending. He said he believed in the next generation, not the next election. By their conduct, it has been shown that that's not what they believe in. Because, indeed, it will take leadership that is forthright, leadership that's not corrupt, leadership that does not put money first and votes first, to say, I will nip this in the bud permanently. This is a country that's pretending that we are also fighting what they call it, terrorism and all those related to it. You can't stop illegal mining. People you can identify in our water bodies across the country. People you can identify in our communities, you can't stop them.
By our highways.
Yes, you see them.
You
How
can't
about
stop
those
them.
who are scheming in the night and working out some of these plots? So what signal does it send about our national security as a people? What signal does it send that we have a minister who sits in a ministry with deputies? whose responsibility every day is to fight illegal mining. Today, they say they are roaming in some other foreign country, attracting foreign direct investment into this republic. What exactly is the purpose of bringing people into a country that has heavily polluted lands with no vegetation? In any case, if they're able to do it illegal mining alone, nobody expects anything else from them. That alone is enough to guarantee the future of this country, the required vegetation, the flora and the fauna, for us to progress as a people.
Raymond, 80% of our water bodies are polluted. In fact, apart from one water body, the Volta, the rest are polluted. Galamsey is the strongest evidence that we are a ridiculous nation.
Ah.